Welcome to Dig Deep, the mining podcast. In this podcast, we go deep into mining news, hot topics, and live interviews with mining professionals and leading figures in the mining industry. Introducing your host, Rob Tyson, founder and director of Mining International and Mining International Executive, a leading global mining recruitment and headhunting agency.
Hi, mining community. Welcome back to another episode of the Dig Deep, the mining podcast. And today's guest is Taj Singh, who's the president and CEO of NOA Lithium Brines, a lithium exploration and development company formed to acquire assets with significant resource potential, with all of their projects located in the heart of the prolific Lithium Triangle in the mining-friendly province of Salta, Argentina. Tej has a background in metallurgy and has over 20 years experience in the mining sector in all areas from executive management, business development, capital markets, project development, engineering and operations. Tej is going to talk to us about the company, the energy transition, and give us an update on the project plus more. So that's welcome, Tej, to the podcast. How you doing?
Thank you very much, Rob, for having us. Thanks.
No worries. As we always start these off, just wondering if you can just tell us a little bit about your career and about your background, just so the audience knows a little bit more about yourself.
Thanks, Rob. Yeah, listen, you covered it a little bit, but been in mining my whole career, over 22 years, across the spectrum of exploration, development, production, all across that kind of production, that kind of on the corporate side and the issuer side, but also significant experience, obviously, in mining capital markets. My background is a bachelor's and master's in metallurgy and mineral process engineering. And listen, the most recent thing I was over 5 years as the founding president and CEO at Discovery Silver, which is they're developing one of the world's largest silver deposits in Mexico, moving towards construction now, and that was a very good success. The company grew from $10-15 million IPO to well over 700 million at its peak, and I still think it's around 400 or 500 million market cap, and again very cashed up and moving towards construction. So that was really nice to have that feather in the cap. And then prior to that, I was also a founding board member and lead independent director at a company called GT Gold. And in 2020, GT Gold was acquired by Newmont for 400 million dollars Canadian, big gold copper project in British Columbia. And then prior to that, experience with several other juniors in various executive positions. And then obviously I was also a mining equity analyst for several years. Got to see that side, and actually I began my career as an engineer working at Inco, which became Vale when Vale took over, working at various operations all over the world. So mining my whole life and in various capacities and on different sides of things. But it's been good to be on this side.
Yeah, and obviously we did record a podcast about 18 months ago when you were at Discovery Silver. I don't know what episode that was, but as we were speaking off air, it was one of my most popular ones. So I think it was in the top 10 of most listened to. So those that are listening, please go back and find that episode. But we're here now to talk about NOA Lithium Brines. So I just wondered if you can just tell us a little bit more about the company.
Perfect. Yeah, NOA Lithium is focused, again, as you noted in the intro, on the in the Salta province of Argentina. The focus is northwest Argentina, which is in the Lithium Triangle. The kind of mission and goal was to acquire large land positions, controlling land positions on assets that were, first of all, available, because there's not a lot available, but one project that had existing data, possibly even existing nearby resource, which would then obviously lower the risk. But again, still looking for large controlling positions that could be acquired for a decent price. So in our portfolio, we have 3 key projects. Our focus project right now that we're drilling is called Rio Grande, on the Rio Grande Salar. As you know, all these projects are centered typically on a salar and a basin. And the second project is called Arizaro, which is about 50-60 kilometers away to the northeast. And then further about 100 kilometers to the northeast of that is our third project called Salinas Grande. So our focus really at a high level is to do drill programs at each of these projects and work towards a maiden resource at all of them. And again, I think based on the area we're in, it's very hot for M&A. Obviously, one of the most prolific lithium districts in the world. I think we've got some really good potential to grow the story.
Obviously, everyone's talking about the energy transition. What is your thoughts? Obviously, you're in the lithium space, but what are your thoughts around the whole energy transition?
Yeah, the energy transition operational opportunity for us to address climate change and reduce greenhouse gas emissions, create a more sustainable future. And that's what really drew me to this, on top of the specifics of the story, which I really think are huge opportunity. But as a CEO, for example, of a lithium mining company, I know that we have a pivotal role, our industry, in enabling this transition. I think lithium is obviously a critical component in the batteries that power the electric vehicles, store renewable energy. We're seeing rapid growth in the adoption of these electric vehicles, and as we know, it's only going to accelerate. Demand for the lithium-ion batteries is skyrocketing, and I think our company, along with our peers, is really at the forefront of supplying that essential resource. Again, 2 new operations starting in our region where we are, another one starting in 2024. We really are in the heart of the producing region for lithium. And I think it's just not about lithium, to kind of close this and come back full circle. It's not just about lithium. I think the energy transition requires a holistic approach. I think we need to focus on developing renewable energy infrastructure, improving energy storage capabilities, and even enhancing grid kind of integration. So collaboration across the industries, I think, is the key to drive that innovation and then find solutions to the challenges we face. It's a complex journey, this energy transition, I think, but again, a tremendous opportunity for economic growth and job creation.
Yes, certainly. Just wondering if you just tell us a little bit more about the Lithium Triangle, and obviously specifically Argentina.
Yeah, so the Lithium Triangle is a geographical triangle, if you will, that kind of contains the corners of northwest Argentina, Chile, and the southern part of Bolivia. And it is a prolific mining area. It is geologically blessed with close to about 55–60% of the lithium resources of the world are contained in this Lithium Triangle, and roughly about the same amount of current lithium production comes from the Lithium Triangle. Specifically Argentina, where we are focused, I think is really the hot spot in this area. Chile is a little bit, probably a decade or two ahead. Most of the meaningful projects have been acquired by majors, are well into production, potentially even now depleting. Bolivia, the investment climate is not very favorable right now, I'd say. That could change, but really northwest Argentina is very hot right now for M&A. Lots of M&A happening in the past couple of years. Almost every major you can think of in the lithium industry in some form or another is in the region. So I think it's really a great place to be, and it's a beehive of activity, not just for lithium. Lots of commodities are in the area and getting a lot of attention, but obviously lithium, with the kind of overall kind of attraction towards it from the investment community is really grown. And Argentina is a hotspot for this specific northwest part of Argentina is really a hotspot for lithium right now.
And how did NOA obviously become to, or how did they obtain the land package? And I suppose also who's involved within the company and the management team?
Yeah, so I mean, we've only gone public. We went public in March 2023, but I just wanted to be clear that the NOA story was being built for probably the past couple of years prior to that. Before lithium had its real run up, the founders in 2021 and 2022, who are based in Argentina, NOAA's founders, which I think is a real advantage here as well. But they were former executives of Lithium Americas and Ganfeng, which have a joint venture operation, a very big joint venture operation nearby to us. But they'd spent quite a bit of time there. And they, now started looking at, for NOA, began putting an impressive portfolio together. for NOAA privately. And so they really, again, looked for these projects with existing data, but could still be acquired for a decent price. And they were really trying to put these large controlling positions together. And so that's how it happened. So it took probably a year and a half to two of kind of putting it all together, behind the scenes work before we even went public, for this story to take life.
You recently put out some drill results. I just wonder if you can just tell us a little bit more about that.
Yes, so we're in the midst of about a 6-hole drill program. We're almost finished hole 2. We released our first hole a few weeks back, and made a major new discovery, which was obviously very exciting. The first hole ever at that salar that was drilled in the alluvial fans of the salar. So a new kind of exploration model in the region is to not only drill the surface manifestation of the salar, the salt flat that you see from surface, but to look around in the basin for the salar to continue undercover, or other aquifers that were not even discovered yet. And so we actually pretty courageously decided to drill a brand new area that had no drill holes around it. And we have a large controlling position of this alluvial area, about 20,000 hectares, which is very large. We drilled and we hit 2 high-grade aquifers, very nice thicknesses. The first one that started at about 100 meters from surface was 100 meters wide and graded around 450 milligrams per liter lithium. Very good grade. And then the second one was about 200 meters wide, started at about 300 meters from surface and graded about 775, which honestly ranks it as one of the highest grade aquifers in northwest Argentina and even in the Lithium Triangle. So again, for a first hole, couldn't have asked for anything more, and I think it really bodes well for the entire program moving forward.
You're obviously mining lithium brine. Just wondering if you just tell us about some of the other types of lithium mining, and I suppose how does that differ from what you're looking to mine?
Yeah, I mean, pretty simply, you've got brine, which is very more akin to oil and gas, whereas the lithium is dissolved in salt water. And then you've got hard rock deposits, which are classic mining. You mine it and mill it and float it and concentrate the ore. For brine operations, you obviously need a very unique environment, and this, the plateau desert we're on, the Andean desert we're on, is very unique in the world to be able to produce these brines. That ties in with my discussion previously on the Lithium Triangle. So the arid climate, the evaporation rates, the amount of sunlight, the wind, all of these things are again very unique to the region, and that combination allows you to produce the brine. So what you're essentially doing is pulling up the brine into evaporation ponds at surface and have sequential evaporation ponds that continue to increase the concentration of lithium until eventually you reach your desired content and you're done. So the real interesting thing about that is you're really using the climate. There's no mining cost, much less energy usage. And so ultimately, if you really look at it, the brine operations are the highest margin operations in the world. Obviously, there are high-grade hard rock operations that have carried out a bunch of efficiencies, operational efficiencies as well, that rank well. But just simply put, if you were looking at it from a very basic, simple standpoint, the brine operations currently are the highest margin operations in the world. There's not many left, as I said, which is much of the reason for some heavy M&A action where we are. But right now, that's how most of lithium is produced currently, well over half of it from brine. So yeah, those are kind of the two main ways of mining lithium.
I wonder if you just give us an overview of the, I suppose, global lithium market. You mentioned obviously there's been some acquisitions in your region, but I just wonder if you just give us, I suppose, an overview of the whole global lithium market at the moment as you see it.
Yeah, listen, it's depending on what supply demand numbers you look at, there's obviously going to be a shortage based on the comments I had made previously, based on the demand for electric vehicles, whether you're getting it from the White House, or you're getting it from governments in Europe or various sources, we know that the demand for lithium is going to increase, and the current supply, is not going to be able to do it. So that's why there's a big rush now to obviously acquire these various projects, and it takes time. These are operations, 3, 4, 5 years sometimes, to get them ready to start producing. So I think the rush is starting now, for that kind of 2030 number that everyone talks about, where a lot of regulations start coming in major countries in the world in terms of electric vehicles. So yeah, there's going to be there's a lot of attention happening, a lot of attention focused on that right now. Specific to our region, again, I noted it before, but in our region, there's just really not many stories that are left to be acquired, right? There's a big consolidation happening. Like I said, many of the majors, essentially all of them in some form or another, whether they're just still looking around to acquire a producing operation or putting an operation into production, all the big guys are there. And for example, if you take our region, specifically zoomed into our region in kind of northwest Argentina, there has been 6 major public deals over the past 18 months. Average size of them is about $900 million Canadian. And you're talking on average a resource size of about 5 million tons and an average grade of about 430 milligrams per liter, which is high grade. I think anything over 400 is kind of the rule of thumb, is considered high grade for brines. So that basically, if you do the math, puts each million ton of LCE to be worth about $160 million. So the potential here, I think, is if you can build up, over 1 million or 2 or 3 million tons, you have a real meaningful project that I think majors would want. And then the cost to get to that resource, if you compare it to hard rock projects, going back to the other question we had, is very low. 5, 6, 7, 8 holes, you have a resource, even less sometimes. The engineering can cost you money as you get down the road a little bit, but I was very surprised about the low kind of discovery cost and kind of cost to get a resource on the brine side. But I think that's a real opportunity if you've got the assets in this region to be able to support that plan.
And are there sort of any other juniors doing what NOA are doing within the region?
Yeah, as I noted, there's only a few juniors left in the region. I'd say a handful that are likely on the radar of the big players right now. A couple notable kind of topical ones right now is Alpha Lithium, which is in the middle of a hostile takeover from a big conglomerate. Lithium Chile has had great success. They're on the same solar we are at the Arizaro Solar, our kind of second flagship project. They've had quite a bit of success, but there's not a lot of names left to be acquired here. And I think NOA is one of them. I think we're at the early stages of those previous companies I mentioned, Alpha and Lithium Chile. And I think we've got the combination of multiple projects and all with meaningful kind of land positions and significant resource potential. So I think all the ingredients are there for NOA. But again, there's not a lot of stories out there in this specific region to be able to look at.
And what should investors be looking at NOA Lithium Brines, and what's your investment thesis?
Yeah, I think simply put, I think NOA really seems right now to be at the inflection point of the value curve, just before it gets very steep. We all hope that. It's a new story. It's clean and simple structure, very reasonable market cap currently, a management team that's proven in previous stories, but has also even executed on the NOA story exactly as outlined to date. And I think the potential for the story to get much bigger is obvious. And I think this first hole we drilled, as I mentioned, and now the subsequent holes, I think we've really significantly de-risked the story with that first hole being successful. So I think I really think it's hopefully we'll get that steep point in the curve where you can see some real growth in the awareness of the company, especially, and hopefully value as well.
And concluding, I wonder what the outlook is for the company over sort of the next 6 to 12 months and your sort of timeframes around all of your activities.
Yeah, it's a simple plan. 2023 is about this drilling program at Rio Grande. So every month or so, expect drill results from this drill program we're doing at Rio Grande, and then ultimately culminated in a maiden resource at Rio Grande, aiming for early 2024. And our second project, which I mentioned, is called the Arizaro project. We'll be starting some drill targeting work to get it ready for drilling, mainly using geophysics. And again, it's about 50 kilometers or so away from Rio Grande, and we plan to begin drilling that in late 23 or early 24. And a couple of points on Arizaro. Several of our neighbors have had great success there at Arizaro, and considering our claim position and size, we're very hopeful for Arizaro. The Arizaro project to potentially host a meaningful resource as well in the coming years. So lots of news, lots of major milestones over the next year, 18 months, 2 years. So yeah, investors should be aware of all that news coming in.
Yeah, really appreciate your time. Good luck for the remainder of the year and going into next year. If our audience obviously wants to reach out to you, if they want to follow your story on social media, what channels are you on? How can they follow your story?
Yeah, we're very active, obviously, on Twitter and LinkedIn, and obviously our website. You can reach us through there as well. It's www.noalithium.com, and all of our links to our various social channels are available as well on there. So yeah, looking forward to connecting if there are questions, and obviously to just continue to increase the awareness of the company. Yeah,
no worries. Like I said, appreciate your time. We'll include those links in the show notes accompanying this podcast for easy access. So just really appreciate your time. Like I said, good luck for the remainder of the year, and all the best. And those that are listening, really appreciate your time. Please share this episode amongst fellow mining professionals in the industry, and like I said, always share this with people outside of the mining industry, especially I suppose anyone that's listening in South America, and maybe even Argentina, because obviously this is a great project that's got a lot of prospects in front of them. So like I said, really appreciate your time. Keep sharing this episode, and I like all the comments that I receive either through certain social media links, whether it's LinkedIn or YouTube. Really appreciate all your comments. So until next time, happy mining.
Thank you for listening. Remember to reach out to Rob via the show notes, and be sure to subscribe and leave a review. Until next time, happy mining, helping each other to improve the mining industry.